From the broadcast center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon, this is Philip Kovacevic with your 2:30 news headlines. Swifties, mark your calendars. Taylor Swift is bringing her tour to Vancouver next year in December. The concerts are slated for December 6th, 7th, and 8th, 2024 at BC Place. Presenting sponsor Rogers Communications says fans can register for tickets on the Verified Fan website this Saturday and Sunday, and sales start November 9th. Canada seemed to have been left off the schedule, and speculation arose about the perceived snub, but Swift cleared the confusion when she announced this summer that she would head to Toronto for 6 dates in November next year. 3 men accused of trying to smuggle more than 300 kilograms of weed into California in hollowed-out logs will not be allowed to appeal their case to the Supreme Court of Canada. Todd Ferguson, Daniel Joinson, and Shane Frazier were arrested after the fake logs were identified at a log home manufacturing company in California in 2006. A Canada court ordered the men extradited in 2015, but the BC Court of Appeal overturned that ruling and ordered a new trial, prompting U.S. officials to make an unsuccessful appeal to Canada's highest court, which refused to hear the case. The second BC trial ended with the men again ordered extradited, and the BC Appeal Court upheld that decision, pushing Ferguson, Joinson, and Fraser to apply to the High Court, which this morning refused to hear their arguments, meaning the extradition order stands. BC's gang squad says it has secured charges including loan sharking and money laundering against a 35-year-old woman. The Combined Forces Special Enforcement Unit says it began an investigation in 2019 into allegations related to criminal interest rates and illegal operation of a money service business. The unit says the prosecution service approved charges against the woman from Richmond yesterday. She faces 1 count of money laundering, 2 charges of possession of the proceeds of crime, and 3 counts of receiving interest at a criminal rate. First Nations Summit Executive Member Robert Phillips has voiced his frustrations with interference from bureaucrats as a key Indigenous conference opened this morning in Vancouver. Phillips was speaking at the BC Cabinet and First Nations Leaders Gathering. He says Premier David Eby and his cabinet have good messages, but Assistant Deputy Ministers, known as ADMs, stop the sharing of the pen when negotiations actually begin.
This pen that the government holds has to pass it over to us. So then we write in detail what needs to happen, then go to cabinet. And we're not seeing that. We're seeing things being stopped by ADMs.
Eby says Phillips raises an important point and told the gathering elected leaders must ensure their expectations about important programs go all the way through the public service. One of the 5 former Memphis police officers charged with the fatal beating of motorist Tyree Nichols is pleading guilty and agreed to testify against other former officers. Jackie Quinn from the Associated Press has the details.
Civil rights attorney Ben Crump,
the first domino to fall
on a member of the now disbanded Scorpion unit who was caught on video and now is admitted in court to beating Tyree Nichols with a baton.
Trained to violate their constitutional rights and engage in excessive force against black people and brown people.
Family attorney Antonio Romanucci says former officer Desmond Mills agrees to plead guilty in exchange for a recommended 15-year prison term.
Who will testify against his own.
For Tyree Nichols' mother, Rovon Wells, hard to hear the words from a nearly 200-pound officer.
200 times 5, that's 1,000 pounds beating up on my son.
I'm Jackie Quinn.
Now for the weather, it'll be cloudy with rain showers throughout the afternoon and a high temperature of about 12 degrees Celsius. And tonight we will be seeing partly cloudy with a chance of showers in the evening, fully cloudy with showers overnight and a high temp of 9 degrees Celsius. Those were your news headlines for 2:30. Philip Kovacevic, 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
too fast because my heart is going a bit too fast, so I'm going to slow it down a bit.
They're like middlemen straight from the creator making these moves.
We're all kind of misfits.
Something to look forward to, you know? I feel like it's important. Like usually I'll just be like, grab my arm, and then you just kind of like pull them like a T-bar, you know?
I think skateboarding is a piece of medicine in itself.
We're just doing the work in hopes that eventually we'll have chapters of other nations' skate youth in other parts of Turtle Island.
It's nations, skate youth.
Nation Skate Youth started in my living room, organically. I was asked to go to Fort St. John to talk about mental health and bring skateboarding. I didn't know who to bring, and the first person I thought of was Joe Buffalo. Big inspiration in my life.
Joe came up with the name. It didn't really click at first, but after a while we made the logo and everything, and it all just came together so fast.
I think one of my main goals when I started Nations was to get more skate parks on reserves. We realized that this would be a bigger thing, to not just go to one community. We wanted to go to all the communities.
We all wanted to, create something that was like a youth program to help empower like youths through skateboarding. It's a way of getting yourself out of your own shell. And I feel like in a lot of First Nations communities, there's not a lot to do in those communities. It's very small, and sometimes you feel like you're trapped. A lot of them are really nervous when we first meet them. And I feel like when we always start with a talking circle. So it's like we tell our stories, and we kind of we try to make them feel comfortable, and tell them why we're there, and what we're gonna do in the day.
Everyone here is a new beginner or has skated before, and we're here to help each other. If you fall down, take a breath, get back up.
Everything's that way in the beginning, you know what I mean? You're gonna feel out of place when you're beginning, you know what I mean? That's normal. But once you meet your crowd, and that's half the battle with us growing up, is trying to find your people so that they grow with them from a young age as family members, and then they grow as skateboarders.
Gives you like a sense of identity too, you know? Like every time I went to school, I'd always be like, I can't wait to go skate after, or having that, something to look forward to, you know? I feel like it's important when you're a kid.
Especially having a brother. It's easier to influence each other to do things, and you progress faster because of that. And it's like always having a friend there, and always having that safety net in a sense.
Skating is something that we grew up doing together. I feel like that kept us close, Skateboarding is part of my identity, and my family is part of my identity.
Just let skateboarding do its thing. It's that rich, All we do is connect and instill that, plant that seed. It's something I never had growing up,
Seeing Joe skateboard at his level and hearing that he went to the residential school and the way that kids oh, my dad went to residential school. Oh, my brother did. Oh, my mom did. They start to relate. And I think that, it's been a healing journey. Skateboarding, like I said, will take you out of all the negative, all the darkness that you feel. And once you get on a skateboard, that's an opportunity for you just to focus on something and be present.
Like even in my community, there's suicides like every year, and it's really sad because you lose knowledge keepers, you lose, you know, momentum, like you lose just youth that have a lot of potential. And I remember Rosie, that was the biggest reason why she wanted to start Nations.
You know, to talk about alcohol, drugs, and suicide, because it's happening and they're so young and they see it and they're experiencing it. And just to let them know, like, that they're valued.
It kind of stops that intergenerational trauma because it's a lot of self-doubt, and skateboarding kind of gives you that, you know, that recognition that like it's not, yeah, it just gives you that freedom to express yourself.
Hell yeah.
So today I was skateboarding on the skate park and I was just learning. I was a little nervous at first, but then I got the hang of it. He made me feel happy. Okay, can we do that again?
Yeah, let's do it again. Okay, I'll go on this side of you.
Because he is a good skateboarder and he taught me how to do some tricks. Apple turnover and like tic-tac.
When you have someone believing in you and cheering you on, like that whole feeling, and that's how I try to do with Nations, you know, like you got it, you're there, and the just like the inspiring and like the empowerment you get from that, it's a good feeling. We want the youth to be their best selves. We want them to know that everything isn't going to be easy. But once they start skateboarding and you can see that they're pushing on their own and they're able to do tricks right away, and I think that's something that is so positive, and you know, it's gonna create leadership and create community where there hasn't been. What I've seen at Nations that makes me proud, when I ask a youth how to count in their language or say hello or thank you in their language, and they can tell me.
So kikiu means eagle, musquasses means bear, kukam means auntie, grandma, musha means grandpa, and tuk-tuk means duck.
What's your favorite word in Cree?
Eagle because I'm an eagle.
In so many ways, I was trying to find myself in skateboarding, like the community skateboarding has, which has been really fulfilling in a lot of ways. But I think connecting to my culture, you really do feel that connection with your ancestors when you do that stuff. I feel like with Nations, we're able to use skateboarding as like a tool to empower youth and to like give them, I know Rosie always said it, but like, you know, be proud of who you are and be proud of where you come from. And I feel like it rings so true in so many of the communities that we go to.
To be proud of who you are, be proud of where you come from, not to be ashamed. I feel like when you start telling them that at a young age, it's going to change the way they look at themselves, the way they carry on their culture and their traditions, the way that they will have that close relationship with their grandparents, and to learn. I know for me, I've heard stories that broke me, that completely broke me. And it made me mad, it made me angry, it made me sad, it made me pissed right off at the government. But when you're around youth, you know, you want to show them the hope. You definitely want to show them that there's hope out there.
Because it's needed. Someone's got to be here for the youth. Someone's got to be that person, that older brother, older sister needed, that kind of needed, you know? There's nothing like it. So that's why we figured give back. I'm here to teach you. You're not going to fall. I'm going to hold you, okay? Give me your hands. We're just getting started, man.
having self-determination to be better and to create that community, I think, is something that we want to pass down to the youth as well. Show them what's possible.
Look, Joanna, hey, hey, look, Joanna, hey, hey, CGLA, hey, hey, CGLA, hey, hey, Angela.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Jag Roslali with your 3 o'clock news update, our top story. Frustration over bureaucratic interference was expressed by Robert Phillips, an executive member of the First Nations Summit, during the opening of a significant Indigenous conference in Vancouver. The event is the BC Cabinet and First Nations Leaders Gathering. Phillip noted that while Premier David Eby and his cabinet have positive messages, the sharing of the decision-making process is impeded by Assistant Deputy Ministers, referred to as ADMs, when negotiations enter the active phase.
This pen that the government holds has to pass it over to us. So then we write in detail what needs to happen, then go to cabinet. And we're not seeing that. We're seeing things being stopped by ADMs.
Eby says Phillips raises an important point and told the gathering elected leaders must ensure their expectations about important programs go all the way through the public service. SFU's BD School of Business is organizing a project. Our reporter Melanie Levesque has more.
55 new affordable rental units are going to be built for vulnerable women and their families in Burnaby. Today, the BD Foundation held a media advisory at the site of the project near Canada Way to recognize the beginning of construction. Cindy Beatty, the executive director of the BD Foundation, began the project on her 50th birthday as a way to give back to the community. She says she hopes to motivate others to be more charitable.
I hope that this project inspires other leaders and individuals to pursue similar projects in their communities. The need for this kind of affordable housing is significant, and I hope this is just the beginning.
The project will also include a daycare on the same property with affordable childcare options for mothers. Melanie Levesque, 1680 The Crow.
Our reporter Melanie, who attended the media advisory this morning, joins us now. Melanie, what is the timeline for the project?
Well, the facilities are supposed to be completed by 2025, according to Sydney Beatty.
And how much will the affordable housing cost?
The units are going to be rented out on a monthly basis, and costs are going to start at $695 a month for a 2-bedroom unit and go up to $790 per month for a 3-bedroom unit. Back to you, Jag.
Thank you, Melanie. A 57-year-old woman suffered life-altering injuries after being struck by a red Mini Cooper in a Halloween crosswalk accident. The accident occurred around 3:30 p.m. at the intersection of Arbutus Street and West 33rd Avenue, and she was subsequently transported to the hospital with serious injuries. Authorities are now seeking potential witnesses as the accident occurred during a busy time of day with high pedestrian and vehicle traffic. Constable Tanya Vistanen urged witnesses and individuals with dash cam footage to promptly contact investigators. Information and video material can be provided to the Collision Investigation Unit at 604-717-3012. Curriculum changes are coming to BC in 2025. Liam Higgs has the latest.
In light of the rise in anti-Semitism in British Columbia and other places around the world, BC and Ontario will be making the Holocaust a mandatory part of the grade 10 social studies curriculum. Nina Greiger, the executive director of the Vancouver Holocaust Education Centre, shared how she feels this will impact the Jewish community in BC.
We're very heartened that learning about the Holocaust will be a requirement. And some of the lessons that emerge from the study of the Holocaust are relate to the manifestations of anti-Semitism, the possible dangers and consequences of anti-Semitism.
Other anti-hate curriculum is currently being considered to be an addition later on. Liam Higgs, 1680, The Crow.
In a shooting incident in Mission on Friday, the RCMP discovered a substantial fentanyl operation. After responding to reports of gunfire near Steve Lake Road, officers found shell casings prompting a property search with a warrant. A large-scale operating fentanyl lab was discovered in a storage building and shipping containers. The police spent several days collecting evidence. Approximately 25 kilograms of pure fentanyl were seized, along with 3 kilograms already prepared for street distribution, equaling roughly 2.5 million street-level doses. The property also contained 2,000 liters of chemicals, 6,000 liters of hazardous waste, and additional precursor materials for fentanyl production. No arrests have been made, and anyone with information is urged to contact the Mission RCMP. Sam Davenport used to suit up for the SFU football team, but after the program shut down, he found a new home at UBC. Our reporter Jake McGrail shares how the bond between him and his former teammates remains strong.
Davenport has been a star for the UBC Thunderbirds this season, leading the entire Canada West Conference in receiving yards per game. His transfer to the school, however, was a reluctant one, as he left behind a team he loved and a school where he was just a couple semesters away from graduation. While some former SFU players elected to stop playing football entirely in order to finish their degrees at the school, Davenport was determined to keep playing and chose UBC to stay close to home. Despite the team disbanding on the field, he says they remain close off of it.
A lot of my guys, we're still friends and we still keep in touch, and I think that overall it kept us closer for the long run.
UBC plays their first playoff game at home on Saturday. Jake McGrail, 1680 The Crow.
The full interview will be airing at 3:15 local time for our For the Record segment. Vancouver police have released surveillance footage they believe may help identify a suspect in a fatal stabbing from a year ago. Zhu Wengong was killed in the incident and the case remains unsolved. The video shows an individual walking away from the crime scene carrying an unidentified object. Although the nature of the object isn't confirmed, it appears to be metallic or reflective. The investigation has yet to determine a motive or whether the attack was random or targeted. Police encourage anyone with information to contact them. CBC and Radio Canada's president, Catherine Tate, defended the public broadcaster's independence during her testimony before a Commons committee. Laurie Paris of the Canadian Press has more.
In her opening remarks, Catherine Tate told MPs the CBC is accountable to all Canadians and not to politicians, and its journalists work independently of corporate management. Liberal MPs asked what would happen if the public broadcaster's $1.4 billion budget was reduced, with Tory leader Pierre Poilievre promising to pare down the budget for CBC's English services while retaining coverage for linguistic minorities. Tate says defunding the CBC will be devastating to its ability to fulfill its mandate to serve rural Canadians in particular. She also says losing the public broadcaster would be bad for Canadian democracy. Laurie Paris, The Canadian Press.
South of the border, one of 5 former Memphis police officers charged in the fatal beating of motorist Tyre Nichols in January has entered a guilty plea. This officer has also agreed to testify against the other former officers involved. For further details, here's Jackie Quinn of the Associated Press.
Civil rights attorney Ben Crump.
The first domino to fall
on a member of the now disbanded Scorpion unit who was caught on video and now is admitted in court to beating Tyre Nichols with a baton.
Trained to violate their constitutional rights and engage in excessive force against black people and brown people.
Family attorney Antonio Romanucci says former officer Desmond Mills agrees to plead guilty in exchange for a recommended 15-year prison term.
Who will testify against his own.
For Tyre Nichols' mother, Rovon Wells, hard to hear the words from a nearly 200-pound officer.
200 times 5, that's 1,000 pounds beating up on my son.
I'm Jackie Quinn.
The Last Dance for the Beatles is here with their final recording. ABC's Tom Rivers has more.
The highly anticipated song Now and Then, written by the late John Lennon and later developed by the other band members Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, and the late George Harrison. The track was sourced from a Lennon vocal and piano demo recorded in the late 70s. State-of-the-art audio recovery technology was used to isolate his voice for the mix. It's being released as a double A-side along with the band's debut single, Love Me Do. Tom Rivers, ABC News, London.
Moving to sports now, the Vancouver Canucks head to the Shark Tank tonight to face the San Jose Sharks. Tonight marks the first of 4 meetings between the Canucks and Sharks this season. The Canucks are coming off of a 5-2 win against the Nashville Predators on Halloween night, while the Sharks look to bounce back from a 3-0 defeat against the Carolina Hurricanes. Thatcher Demko will take the crease for Vancouver, while Kaapo Kaukonen will try to get San Jose into the winning column for the first time this season. Puck drop is set for 7:30 p.m. local time in San Jose. The NFL's Week 9 begins tonight with the Pittsburgh Steelers hosting the Tennessee Titans. The Steelers, with a 4-3 record at the season's midpoint, face the Titans, who are 3-4. The Titans are hoping for another strong performance from quarterback Will Levis, who threw 4 touchdowns in his inaugural NFL start, helping Tennessee secure a victory against Atlanta last week. The Raptors are heading south of the border to face Joel Embiid and the Philadelphia 76ers tonight, a team that has added a couple of new bodies. Toronto is coming off of a big 130-111 win last night against the East favorite Milwaukee Bucks, a game in which Pascal Siakam scored a game-high 26 points, and new teammate Dennis Schroeder had 24 points and 11 assists. Here's the call on TSN 1050 as Siakam makes a 2-point shot, assisted by Schroeder in the third quarter.
Here comes Schroeder to Siakam, far side, left wing. Pascal into the lane, floated up and in, and a foul. Give him 2 and send him to the line for the bonus throw.
Transition, hoops. Pascal getting into the teeth of the defense, getting to that strong hand there, won't be denied.
Tip-off is scheduled for 4 p.m. local time from the Wells Fargo Center. The NBA's in-season tournament is commencing on Friday, offering teams a new chance at a trophy. This tournament will run until December 9th and features a unique visual twist with brightly painted courts. The addition of a second trophy has been introduced under Commissioner Adam Silver's leadership. The group play games will take place on Tuesdays and Fridays throughout November, except for Election Day when the NBA will not hold games. The semifinals are scheduled for December 7th in Las Vegas, and the championship game will follow 2 nights later. Nike, the NBA, and its teams unveiled the 2023-24 Nike NBA City Edition uniforms this morning, which represent the stories, history, and heritage that make each franchise unique, honoring the inherent bonds between court, community, and culture. The uniforms are available for sale today at NBAstore.com, Nike.com, and select retailers globally. Taking a look at the weather now, rain showers are continuing throughout the day and into the weekend with a high of 13 degrees. The drive this morning was certainly rough, and others may also be just as tough, so ensure you plan your trips accordingly. Keep those umbrellas up and those raincoats on. That's all for your 3 o'clock news update. It's been a privilege to have been your daily news anchor this week, and I look forward to returning real soon. Until then, as always, I'm Jagraj Lawley. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay listening to 1680 The Crow. Philip Kovacevic is coming up at 3:30 local time with our final news update of the day.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
The UBC Thunderbirds football team is set to host its playoff opener on Saturday. It's been an excellent season so far for the Thunderbirds as they finished with the best record in the Canada West Conference for the first time since 1999. One of the team's star players is Sam Davenport, a wide receiver who transferred to the school for this season. Before that, he was at SFU and was one of the many players blindsided by the school axing the football program. When SFU football was shut down, Davenport was just a couple semesters away from graduation. He was faced with a tough choice: either stop playing football so he could finish his degree at SFU as some of his former teammates did, or move to a new school so he could keep playing football but have to change his degree program. He chose the latter and stayed close to home by transferring to UBC. Now close to the end of his season with the Thunderbirds, I sat down with him to chat about the whirlwind of a year he's had, the new home he's found in Vancouver, and how his bond with his former team remains strong. Taking us back to last year, how much of an advance warning did you have that the SFU football program could be shutting down?
Not a lot. I mean, obviously it's been a while, but I remember hearing murmurs and rumors about it, but nothing firm until we really had that meeting, right? And so that came as a surprise to most of us. Yeah, like that was really it. There wasn't much. It was just the thought of that, and the murmurs. That was really it. There was no clear-cut answer until that meeting.
And with the suddenness of it all, how did that hit you both emotionally and mentally in the fallout from it?
Well, you got to really look at everything, right? I mean, emotionally, it's all about the guys and the guys that are there. I mean, it's hard to go back into your shoes and feel what you were feeling. But I know that in that moment, like, it was all about family and about the guys around us. And I know that it was like taking a stand and, seeing what we could do because, we didn't feel it was right. And looking back at it, I liked what we did.
You guys really put a lot of work into trying to find other options. So why wasn't this as simple of a situation as, oh, it's fine, I can just transfer to another school and play there?
What it was is a lot of us had, it's about the academics as well. We know that SFU is a high academic school, and a lot of us had and are still in the process of finishing that SFU degree. A lot of us were really close to, and when you commit to a university, like most of us did, you expect to be there for the long running, with the expectation that you're going to be served both the academic side as well as the student athlete side. And when the student athlete side is let down, we're not just going to abandon our post because the academic side is there, right? So it's a hard thing to look at, and it's a hard thing to really you got to really see and it's like restarting almost. It's like you really got to look at what you have and see what you want to do, because a lot of those guys, I know a lot of the team is now not playing football, right? SFU provided a great program for lots of kids to continue to play football after that high school level, and now they're not able to. So it sucks. It really does.
And what was the decision-making process like for you of, I can stay at SFU and complete my degree here, or I can keep playing football by going somewhere else? How did you weigh those two options?
Well, for me, it's an everyone decision. You got to take into everything to effect, right? Because I'm close to finishing that SFU degree, but football, I've always played football, and I've played it for 7 years, and I'm not going to stop that. So it's something that you had to take into effect. It's a tough decision. I had a lot of options. I looked into different things, and it was all based on not just this student athlete side, it was the academics, because obviously the academic piece is a big important part to me. In the end, it led me to UBC. So that's just kind of how my thought process was. Obviously, went with family and friends. I had to discuss that with them and all the different aspects, right? So.
And what was it that made you land on UBC as the best place for you to go to?
I think for me, it was just the close to home right now. You know, with a SFU meant a lot to me, and it still does. I still want to be there. It was about the closeness. You know, it was about being close to family, close to friends, especially in a tough time. I've personally made a lot of friends out here, and I wasn't ready to leave that quite yet. And I just felt like in that time that I had and the time that the program, you know, it's a tough news. So I just decided to stay home. I thought it would be easier, and it's working out pretty well so far.
Yeah, I mean, you've had a great individual season. You're leading the conference in the receiving yards per game. What do you credit that success that you've had to adjusting to a new team, new rules as well, playing U Sports rules?
You know, I credit a lot of people. The coaches here at UBC have been very helpful in my transition. You know, like you said, the CFL game or the Canadian game, it's a new game. So they put me in a spot where they thought might be easiest to transition to, and I felt that the position that they did put me in was the easiest transition. So, you know, really being able to use that position and use that easy transfer, that easy, I don't know how to put it, but basically like being able to use my skills from, you know, previous game, from the American game to the Canadian game. It wasn't a huge difference, and as the season slowly moved on, we're putting me into different spots, kind of learning the CFL game, because, you know, there's all these different rules. There's all these crazy different rules, and I'm learning them as I go. So.
And with the playoffs beginning this weekend, what is the confidence level like within the team coming in first in Canada West and coming into at least this semifinal matchup as the favorites?
It's just not being complacent. You know, we haven't proved anything. The situation that we're in is obviously a favorable one, but we are going to treat it like any other game. It's any other week. Obviously, the emotions are a little bit higher, and the physicality kind of gets up there, but, you know, we're going to treat it, and we're going to prepare like we have all season, and that's really how we're looking at this game.
I mean, after everything that's happened in the last year plus with having the program shut down, having to transfer schools, learn new rules, playing the Canadian style of football, what are you going to be taking with you from all of these experiences after your time at UBC is done?
Well, I'll say that from my time and experience that, you know, it's really your close friends and your close family that really keep you going. I think that just having, you know, that hard work ethic and continuing to try and look at positives, that's what will really keep you going, right? Especially in, you know, our team, my SFU team, you know, we faced a lot of, obviously a lot of tough times, and we kept staying positive and, you know, looking at the bright side, and no, it didn't end in our favor. I know a lot of my guys, we're still friends, and we still keep in touch, and I think that overall it kept us closer for the long run.
Thank you again to Sam Davenport for chatting with me here. He and the rest of the UBC Thunderbirds football team will be taking on the University of Manitoba on Saturday at Thunderbird Stadium in Vancouver. I'm Jake McGrail, and this has been the For the Record segment on 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon, this is Philip Kovacevic with your 3:30 news headlines. A fire early this morning has shut down an elementary school in Metro Vancouver's municipality of Surrey. Surrey Fire Services say the fire, which has been put out left some damage to the school's walls but caused no injuries. Rich Bodnark, Assistant Chief of Operations with Surrey Fire Services, says a crew was dispatched to Cloverdale Traditional School at 7 a.m. Thursday and saw the exterior of the building ablaze before the fire advanced inside. Bodnark says the interior fire was difficult to put out because of the school's heavy timber construction and the building's age, but the crew managed to extinguish it. 17 firefighters and 7 apparatus were on the scene this morning, and the school has been shut down for the day. Surrey Fire Services says the cause of the fire is under investigation. More properties are being listed for sale around Metro Vancouver, and the Greater Vancouver Real Estate Board says that is shifting the market to balance. However, the board says sales across the region in October remain nearly 30% below the seasonal average. When sales are compared to active listings, the board says the ratio is in the 20% range for apartments and condos, a range that could push prices for those units down, but the ratio is under 30% for detached homes, meaning prices are unlikely to dip. The board says the composition benchmark price in October for all residential properties in Metro Vancouver was just under $1.2 million, a 4.4% increase over last October, and roughly 0.5% slip since September. New president of the Alberta Medical Association has been touring the province to hear from physicians in hospitals and clinics about their concerns. Dr. Paul Parks says doctors are nervous about expected changes to the province's healthcare delivery system.
Not knowing what is coming, one of the things that the AMA has really tried to stress is that physicians should be involved, the AMA should be involved, we should be able to help inform it. And because even small changes in the AHS structure could have massive ramifications to how patients are cared for throughout the whole system. So we'd really like eyes on it and input.
Alberta Premier Danielle Smith says the first steps towards revamping Alberta Health Services are coming this fall, a plan the opposition in NDP says is a recipe for more chaos. A man who was said to be deported from Canada to Egypt, where he faces a death sentence, says the federal immigration minister intervened in his case and prevented his removal. Dr. Izzat Ghoda was ordered to return to Egypt by November 1st despite claims that he would be persecuted and killed because of his political affiliations in the aftermath of the Arab Spring Revolution. Ghoda says he showed Canadian officials court documents that prove he has been sentenced to death in Egypt, but was told they were too vague and insufficient for his refugee claim to be accepted. On Wednesday, as he prepared to board a flight back to Egypt, he says he suffered a stroke and was taken to the hospital. Ghoda says that later in the day, he learned in an email from the Canada Border Services Agency that Immigration Minister Mark Miller had stopped the deportation. Miller's office said it would not respond to questions about the matter because of privacy concerns. American and Arab mediators are intensifying efforts to ease Israel's siege of Gaza and calling for at least a brief halt to the hostilities in order to aid civilians. But Israeli troops are continuing to advance toward Gaza City, and airstrikes continued today, including one on a refugee camp. The Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza is reporting the Palestinian death toll has reached 9,061. Speaking in Hebrew, Israeli Defense Forces spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari says Israeli forces are on the move in the northern Gaza Strip.
הלוחמים ממשיכים למוטט את קווי ההגנה של החמאס בצפון הרצועה ולהשתלט על שטחים מרכזיים. אנחנו ממשיכים להעצים את הפעילות ולהתקדם על פי התוכנית והיעדים שהצבנו לעצמנו. הקרב מתקדם כפי שתכננו, בכל קרב ידנו על העליונה, וכך נמשיך להתקדם.
Now for the weather, it'll be cloudy with rain showers throughout the afternoon and a high temperature of 14 degrees Celsius. Tonight we'll be seeing partly cloudy with a chance of showers in the evening and fully cloudy with showers overnight with a high temp of 9 degrees Celsius. Those were your news headlines for 3:30. Philip Kovacevic, 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.